Hey kids, hey kids, hey kids, hey kids, you all know what time it is. It's time for Karch
and Wendy
and Bluster
and Bliss
to tell you what today's adventure is.
Hey kids,
Hey kids,
hey kids,
hey kids, you all know what time it is. Halloween Hollow, a Gallery of Seasons story, Autumn World 1, by Brian J. Klink. Hi, my name is Karch, and I'm here to tell you about a wild and wonderful place, Autumn World. Let's take a closer look. You see, Autumn World is one of 4 worlds found in the Gallery of Seasons. If you look closely at the Autumn World painting, you can see not only me, but my friends. Speaking of friends, my best friend for as long as I could remember is Whisper. We do almost everything together. Whisper makes no audible sounds and communicates by channeling thoughts directly to others. As you'll see in our adventures, this can be both helpful and a problem. We live near Mountain Lake, a beautiful place with so many fun things to see and do. You have to be careful though, because Autumn World is also home to Halloween Hollow, where some strange things have been known to happen. But that's a story for later. Let me introduce you to a few more of my friends. This is Ghost. Ghost pops in and out like a ghost. You just never know when or where you will run into Ghost, or what mischief might come along. Then there's Perseus. Perseus mostly lives in Mountain Lake, but can also swim through streams and creeks. Having a friend that can keep you safe and play with you when you are swimming is wonderful. Water can also sometimes keep you safe from the 2 Witchfly sisters, Witchflies right and Witchflies left. They are always trying to rule Autumn World. Speaking of the Witchfly sisters, there's Witchflies left. Witchflies left is the oldest of the Witchfly sisters. She is quite tricky and wants to rule Autumn World and control all that live there. She can only fly to the left on her broomstick. Then there's Witchflies right. Witchflies right is the youngest of the Witchfly sisters. She also wants to rule Autumn World, but cares about the creatures who live there. She can only fly to the right on her broomstick. Now that you know where I live and have met Whisper and some of my other friends, let's begin today's story. Halloween Hollow is embedded in the foothills of the Mountain Lake area of Autumn World. It is also the easiest way to get to the Mystic Mountains where Whisper loves to explore. One of our many adventures started on a cool morning, as one might expect in Autumn World, with Whisper sneaking up behind me and asking if I'd help gather pine cones for Fall Fest. I said sure, but not until we have breakfast. So, after our apple crisp and apple juice, we headed out for the day's adventure. We talked about hiking around Mountain Lake, but decided it would be quicker to catch a ride on Distant Fisherman's boat. Distant Fisherman is hard for most of us to communicate with, as he is always fishing out on Mountain Lake. But Whisper could communicate with anyone as long as they are in direct eyesight. So, Whisper let Distant Fisherman know of our plans to go to the Mystic Mountains to gather pine cones, and he swung by and picked us up for a fine boat ride. As luck would have it, We ran into Perseus while crossing Mountain Lake, and he let us know that the weather was supposed to get bad later in the day with storms on the way. All of us familiar with Mountain Lake know that when the weather gets bad, you do not want to be out on the water. Whisper told me that we both needed to keep an eye on the weather because getting caught in the Mystic Mountains during a storm might also be dangerous. Our peaceful day of pine cone gathering was already starting to get more than a little interesting. Once we reached land, we passed by some of the landmarks that make the Mystic Mountains special. First, we passed the Serenity Bench. The Serenity Bench is a place where anyone can come to relax and find peace. Whisper and I often stop here to rest on our way to and from adventures. However, with bad weather possibly coming, we didn't stop there today. Another place we love to visit is Cobblestone Creek. Cobblestone Creek flows down from the Mystic Mountains into Mountain Lake. Sometimes Perseus will swim up from Mountain Lake and join us, but apparently he was busy warning others of the bad weather this morning. Also, you can cross Cobblestone Creek by walking over the cobblestones, but it's risky. One misstep and you could be swept downstream, and who knows what might happen. Whisper and I arrived successfully at Pine Grove and were busy collecting many fine cones. The air was calm, and we put Perseus's weather warning out of our minds. There were so many incredible pine cones, we knew that Fall Fest decorations were going to be the best in years. Once we had enough pine cones collected, we paused to discuss our return home. The weather was still clear, so we talked for quite a while about our options. We were simply having the best time. Whisper even thanked me for coming along to help. After our lengthy conversation, we decided to head back and take the shortcut by crossing Cobblestone Creek. It would save us time, and carrying the pine cones will make the journey a bit harder. So, after just a few more moments of rest, we began our journey home. As we were approaching Cobblestone Creek, Ghost appeared out of nowhere, quite upset. You have to hurry. You must get out. The storm is coming, and which flies left knows you're in Halloween Hollow. Then repeated, you have to hurry. You must get out. Whisper and I both knew double trouble was headed our way. And sure enough, Ghost was right. Which flies left soared into view on her broomstick, circling overhead, coming our way. Fortunately, we ducked behind Ghost, just in time for its transformation from clear to opaque, which meant which flies left couldn't see us. This was by far our luckiest break of the day, for which flies left would have certainly slowed our progress. Once which flies left was out of sight, we carefully crossed Cobblestone Creek and continued along the shortcut through Halloween Hollow. Whisper and I looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. We knew how much mischief either of the Witchfly sisters could cause, and were glad to be closer to home. But our shortcut changed our course a bit, and we would now have to exit Halloween Hollow through the back way and go through Spooky Jack Pass. Now, we didn't mention Spooky Jack earlier in the story because we almost never go this way. You see, Spooky Jack is a jack-o'-lantern that guards the back entrance to Halloween Hollow. This back way is less traveled and scarier, and a path where you can more easily get lost. We told you Autumn World was full of surprises. We still had to hurry, as the sky was getting darker by the minute, as the storm rapidly approached us. Whisper was getting nervous, so we held hands as the path grew darker. It's always good to have a true friend along when things are looking grim. We both knew if we could just make it through Spooky Jack Pass, we would almost be home. Then the sky broke open and the rain poured down upon us. And everyone knows a jack-o'-lantern can't stay lit if their candle gets wet. So, while Spooky Jack made a mad dash for cover, we made a mad dash out of Halloween Hollow. Spooky Jack was quite unhappy, and we knew we probably would not be so lucky next time. So, that's the story of our pine cone gathering adventure to Halloween Hollow in the Mystic Mountains. Whisper and I hope that you enjoyed our time together, and you will look for more adventures from the Gallery of Seasons.